Hey everyone. So this is our JavaScript 2 class, and we're in Blackboard. And I'm going to go ahead and click on JavaScript 2. And then just so I can see what you see, I'm going to enter student preview mode. You're obviously already in student preview mode, so you don't need to do this. You just need to access JavaScript 2. So week 1, obviously, and before we get into week 1, let's go ahead and look at the ebook. So I think I have one ebook in here, and it's one of the ones that if you've had, no, I don't think any of you would have had any classes where I use this. But anyways, it's from a series called A Book Apart, and it's an ebook that I like the way they make the books. I like the way that they're easier to read and easier to follow. It is a PDF. So one of my tips, if your internet connection is not always the greatest, whenever you do have internet connection and you can download this as a PDF so you can review even if you're not connected to the internet. So we'll go into that a little bit more later on. I just want to make sure I didn't forget to tell you about that. So day one, we're going to start with a review. We'll go ahead and close this out so you can see it whenever this opens. We're going to click a review of JavaScript basics. So this is basically just a review of JavaScript that we've had from JavaScript 1. Excuse me. So we're going to be practicing and reviewing in the Chrome console. So if you may remember, or you may not, we're going to, the way you can access the DevTools using Chrome is Control-Shift-I, or you can see how you can click on these little 3 dots and then go to More Tools and then Developer Tools. So let's go ahead and open up the Chrome page, Control-Shift-I. And what we're going to go into is the console. Make sure you're in the console tab. And to get rid of all of this stuff, we're just going to type in clear with open and close parentheses. And it clears it up. And let's see, let's go on here. So we did that, console, and then the tip that I said, you can clear stuff, whether it's stuff that if you've already written and that you're wanting to clear, or if you just want to clear the stuff that pops up when you first open a web page like I did. Basically, clear open and close parentheses is a way to kind of clear your area. Okay, so the console, like I said, it's Control-Shift-I. Most of the work our computer does with our code is not visible. We only see what the visible results. We don't always see what's going on behind the scenes, so to speak. But the console allows us to see what's happening. The console is a protected keyword that is built directly into the JavaScript language. So when you see JS, that's just me being lazy, and instead of typing out JavaScript, it's JS. A console refers to an object, data, and the actions that we use in the code. So console log is one of the console methods and actions that we can use, and we're going to be playing with this as we go along. What we put inside the parentheses will be printed, logged down to the console. What we put inside the parentheses must use the current syntax rules, and we'll discuss that later on in regards to strings and numbers and booleans and everything else. So below is an example of a console log method working and one producing an error. We are trying to log a string. Why is the second one producing an error? So we did console log. This is logging our string in the console. And you can see this is what it produces. So let's go ahead and do this in live. So console log, and you can see it auto completes it for you as well. Trying to see if I can make my screen bigger. I can, but I don't think it really helps this any. So we're just going to do the best we can, just like everything else. So we're going to practice typing in console log. This is a string, and it's surrounded by quotes. Okay, so the open parentheses and the closed parentheses are very important. And when I hit enter, it says this is a string and it's surrounded by quotes, which is exactly what I have here. So what it prints, so to speak, it prints to the screen is what I have in here in quotes. If I did console log and no quotes, this is going to not work. I get an error message. Oh, yeah, I get an error message because it was missing the quotes. I don't believe it matters if it's single quotes or double quotes. Yeah, so that's a single quotes. Again, I can't zoom in, but this one, if you can see, has double quotes. This one has no quotes and produced an error. This one has a single quote and it still works fine. So it's not picky on that. One of the things that you should do as best practices, and you and I struggled to remember to do this, best practices says to add semicolon. Okay. And that's a best practice. Obviously, it still works if you don't do it, but you're supposed to for best practices purposes. And you will probably see me forget to do that more often than not because it still works. But you're supposed to add the semicolon. Okay. So go back to here, which was the file that was in Blackboard. So below is an example of a console log method working and producing an error. So this one's working, as you can see, because it produced a string, and we are trying to log a string. Why is the second one producing an error? So if you guessed, it's because it's missing the quotes. You are right. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. If you didn't see the error, well, now you know. So those are, the syntax errors are probably one of the more common, if not most common, errors that we make. And syntax means missing the quotes, or maybe having an opening quote or not a closing quote, just basically missing one of the quotes. It could be, let me go back into here. Oh, okay. Okay. Let's see if we did console log. Let's see if I have a single quote and starts with single quote, ends with double quotes. And you can see that this little parentheses is already going to produce an error. So it's got, because this starts with a single quote, ends with a double quote, it says something's not right. So those are the kind of errors, or missing the semicolon on some cases will break the code. In this particular instance, it's best practice, but does not necessarily break the code. Okay, so let's move on past okay, we're still doing console log. It's talking about the semicolon. Requires a semicolon at the end of each line is a best practice to just get in a habit of it, even though it's not required to work. So just be aware of that. I am going to actually open this up in Google Docs, so if I see any typos, I can fix them. Okay, I'm back. So what I did some changing while I paused it. I open up in Docs so I can just make edits as I see any typos or a flow that doesn't work as I'm recording this. And the console that we're playing with, that's in a browser tab, those are the only two tabs that's in this particular browser window, instead of me having to find it and search for it, just to save me some time. So anyways, what I corrected here, as you can see, does not require a semicolon at the end of each line, but it is a best practice. So comments, just like in HTML and CSS, comments are something that every programmer should learn to do as a habit. It's basically kind of meant to be as a reminder to yourself as to why you did something a particular way, why you named a variable in a particular way, what something is supposed to mean when it's not always clear if you're looking at it weeks or months later. Or is, that's if you're doing it for yourself and you're going back to it. Or in a more probably equally likely scenario, would be if other people are going to be looking at your code, and if you're doing a collaborative project and they're seeing the code and it makes no sense, whether it be a variable name or anything else. Comments help give some clarity whenever the original code writer's not available to ask questions. And even if the original code writer was available to ask questions, they don't want to be bombarded with questions. So basically, all around, a best practice is to put comments. So other people know what you're doing, and even you know what you're doing if you're going back to it, at a later point in time. So there are two ways that you can comment in JavaScript. There's single line comments and multi-line comments. So if you remember in HTML, the comments was pretty much to comment something out was just, doesn't matter how many lines. It was just all that one way. It was let's see. It was basically this. Okay, didn't matter how many lines, that's what it was. Okay. And so, but this with JavaScript, it's a little bit different. Okay. I think there's supposed to be an image there. It's kind of like Cengage all over again. We'll look back in the original. Well, it's in preview. Yeah, there was supposed to be. Okay. Well, this is not wanting to load yet because I open up in docs, but we're just go back to the preview where everything shows. So again, this is that single document of review JavaScript basics. Just my internet's not great and it's not wanting to load when I try to open it up in Google Docs. That square is supposed to be an image. Try refreshing it. While that's thinking, I'll just look at the preview of it. So in the preview mode, you can see, everything that's on there, hopefully. So here you can see this is a single line comment in JavaScript. It's 2 forward slashes, which are underneath your question mark. And then with a multi-line comment, it's like this right here. You have the forward slash and the star. Because this would be, you don't want to have to do the forward slashes for every single line. And these each have line numbers, so it's not word wrapping. It's an individual line comment, and you don't want to have to do this every single time. Just saves us some typing and potential typing errors. So you do the forward slash and the star, and then it ends with the star and the forward slash. Let's see, I'm going to go back to the Word document. That's still refreshing. Wonderful. Let's go back here, the preview mode. You can also use comments when you're doing a console log. So the comment out portion is surrounded by the forward slash star comment star forward slash, even though it's on one line, because that's just the way you can indicate, the start of a comment, the ending of a comment, similar to how HTML was. I should just keep this notepad open. Okay, so this indicated the beginning of a comment in HTML. And this indicated the end of a comment in HTML. Okay, so let's go to our console log still. So again, I just open up, as you can see, this is the browser tab that open, and I go Control-Shift-I, and I'm still here in this console log. So we're doing comments. Okay. So console log double quotes. Let's talk about comments. And I do the /* commenting out * shall we? In the close parentheses. And I messed up. Where did I mess up? I thought something looked funny. It's about comments. Wonder if it's a spacing. I'm going to pause this while I figure out, then I'll share it with you. Okay, I'm back. And I see what I did wrong. What? Okay. So, lesson learned here, because I don't think I've ever tried this. What? I don't think I've ever tried this, so lesson learned for me, and I'm going to share with you because that's what teaching and learning is all about. So what I tried to do is I'll put everything in comments, and I could tell that this wasn't really working because this is what I was expecting down here, like it grayed out, but I went with it, and obviously it did not work. It did not comment it out. And then my next thought was like, well, maybe it's a spacing issue. Didn't think that was it, but tried it, took out some spacing, still didn't work. So, and then I just started, looking at it a little bit more. Oh, I can highlight that. That helps. So I kept looking at it some more. So I said, this is commenting out. And then when I added the quotes at the end of the first half to indicate this is the end of that string, and add the comment out, and then what we see, which was again the second half of that string, it said it's missing the close parentheses, and I believe it was missing it like right here after the word out, which is the first half, but I didn't want in parentheses there. So this is something that we're going to be talking about as well, but concatenation, I don't say it right, but just trust me, you'll see the word later on, which with these plus symbols. And now it works. So lesson learned on this. What are the lessons learned on this? Okay. If adding comments in middle of string, you need to use string concatenation, which is the plus symbol, and break it up with quotes. Okay, that's our lesson learned for that. Now, if we just added the comment in like the beginning or the end, it would have been no big deal. And I think that's the example that I have. What? In the, stop it. And if I have, that's what, Oscar, stop. That's the example that I have there. So in the attachment or in the Blackboard upload. So what we can do is just do the / star. This is a comment in the beginning. Star, oops, star / and this, this is the string in quotes. Okay, so you can see that there's different ways that you can add a comment in console log. Okay, let's go back to this preview. I'm still recording, that's good. So the data types, there's classifications that are given to different kinds of data. There are 7 fundamental data types. There's number. It can be any number. It can include decimals. It can be a string, which is a group of characters, letters. I have a puppy, y'all, that likes to fight everything else. She's adorable, but she's annoying. Okay, so a string is any group of characters, letters, numbers, symbols. It's surrounded by single or double quotes, which is what we were doing right here. Okay. Now, this is, you can see like the colors here, like console's white, log is yellow, the string is in orange. If you have different kinds of themes, or if you're using a different browser outside of Chrome, which I don't necessarily recommend for our purposes, but basically if you have a different theme, I think it might be different colorings. Instead where mine's orange, yours might be green or something, I don't know. Okay, so a Boolean can only have 2 possible values, either true or false. It doesn't have quotes, because if it had quotes, that would make it a string. Null is an intentional absence of value. It's represented by the keyword null, and there's no quotes. Undefined uses the keyword undefined, again, no quotes. It represents the absence of value, and it's different than using null. We're not going to dive into those right now in this review. We're primarily playing with number, strings, and booleans. Or maybe something else. A symbol can be a unique identifier. It's useful in more complex coding. An object is a collection of related data. The primitive data types are the top 7, 6 of them. The primitive ones are the number, the string, the Boolean, the null, the undefined, the symbol. The object is not a primitive data type. And let's see. So we have arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operator, the operator is a character that performs a task in the code. So you're probably you should all be familiar with this. Add is the plus symbol, subtract is minus, multiply is the little star, the divide is /, and the modulo or the remainder is with the percent sign. The adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing is easy enough to understand. The modulo shows the remainder of 2 numbers. So if you get 4, if you just do the 4 divided by 3, you'll get 1.333. If you do the modulo remainder of 4 and 3, we get 1 because 1 is the remainder. So let's do these examples. I'm going to, okay. So I want to clear this out by typing clear and then the open close parentheses. And then, so the modulo. So let's do the console log. Let's play with numbers first before we start doing that. Console log, we'll do the open parentheses because it's a number. We don't need quotes. We just type in 30, no quotes, and it produces 30. If we type in console log 30 in quotes, what'd I do? I misspelled console log. I misspelled console. So let's try this again. Okay, we get 30. Now, you can see this one is purple, this one is white. This one is a string, this one is a number. So what would happen if we did this? 30 plus 30, going to give us 60, right? And what if we did this? That's kind of using some of that string concatenation again, but just bear with me. 30 in quotes plus 30 in quotes, and we get 30, 30. And the reason for that, whenever we're doing numbers, it knows to add. And whenever we got them in strings, which the quotes, it just puts those 2 values, those 2, whatever's in those 2 strings together, which is 30, 30. Okay, so let's go back to looking at the modulus and see what that is. So let's do console log 4 divided by 3. Okay, we're just going to do the division first. 4 divided by 3 equals 1.333, yada, yada. Okay, but what if we do a console log 4 modulus, which is the percent sign, 3? We get 1. And the reason for that, break this up. 4 divided by 3 equals 1 with a remainder of 1. So the remainder is what modulus is going to show. Okay. So let's try another one. Let's do, what was the other example that I had? 5 divided by 2. Console log 5 divided by 2 equals 2.5, right? So if we do console log 5 modulus 2 equals 1. Okay. And the reason for that is 5 divided by 2 equals, let's see, equals 2 with a remainder of 1. Misspelled remainder of 1. So that's why, because 2 will go into 5 2 times, and then there's a remainder of 1. What was the other example I had? Okay, 6 and 3. Console log 6 divided by 3 equals 2. Let's do a console log of 6 modulus with a percent. Oops. 6 modulus with a percent. 3 equals 0. And that is because, as I'm sure you guys figured out by now, 6 divided by 3 equals 2 with a remainder of 0. So this one's not an example. If we do another kind of numbers, console log 134 divided by, let's see, 5 equals 26.8. Cool. Console log 134 modulus 5 equals 4. So let's see what our calculator says. 134 divided by 5 equals 26. And so 26 divided by, or times 5 equals 130. So our original number was 134, right? So as you can see right here. So that leaves, whenever we do 26 by times 5. So we did 134 divided by 5 equals 26.8. Okay. So what we did next was, which in our whole number is 26. So we know it goes into, 5 goes into 134 at least 26 times. So we did 26 times 5 equals 130. And our original number was 134. So the remainder after we get to 130, after 26 times 5 is 4, which gives us our modulus of 4. So that's what a modulus does. Go ahead and close out that calculator. Okay. So it goes through examples on that. String concatenation. We can also use the plus operator to combine two strings, as you saw me doing some of the practices already. The concatenation, I think I'm saying that right, is a process of appending one string to another. Spaces in between words of the string have to be inserted manually. And we're going to play with that here in a little bit. 2 ways to insert spaces so text doesn't look like one long word. This is me trying to be funny. You can add a space in between the quotes, or you can add an extra space with 2 new quotes, which is horrible. I hate it. Don't do that, but I'll show you how to do it. So I want to go ahead and clear this out. Okay. Let's see. Let's do a console log of let's see, where in the, this is really tedious, world are you? Okay. So I put just the simple quotes around, or just the quotes basically around each single word, and it's all one jumbled word. Okay. So that's not the way we want to do that. So what we can do, we can add spaces, a couple of spaces, a couple different ways. So console log, we can do where, and we can just add a space after the word and then do the closing quotes. And you can see how tedious this is for me anyways. Okay. Looks like I forgot the one after the, yeah, I forgot that one. Oh, but fun fact, if you didn't know this, you can hit the up arrow, like while you're in console, hit the up arrow, and it'll take you through the lines that you've written. So I'm just going to go up to that line where I made the boo-boo. I don't have to type it all in again. And just add that space where I needed it. And then you can fix it. So again, that was up arrow, down arrow to go to previous lines that you've typed, so you can fix a small error like you just saw me do. So console log, let's do this other way that you can add spaces, which is horrible. I'm not going to do this whole entire line. Where, so you do the quotes, no spaces, and then you do the plus symbol, then you do a quote, then you do a space, and then you do a quote, and then you do the plus symbol, and then you do the next word, plus symbol, quotes, space, quotes, plus symbol, you is all I'm going to put on here. Okay, there you go. I hate that. I don't do that unless I absolutely have to for some awful reason. This is okay. Obviously, you saw in other examples, like whenever it's combining two different strings with the comments, like console log, I'm talking about comments. Then I do the close, do the quotes again. Then I do the plus symbol. And then I do the, forward slash, sorry, comments are awesome. The star symbol, forward slash, and not that, forward slash. I'm talking about comments and the quotes, and they are great. Then that. Now, did I get that right? Almost. I'm talking about comments, and you'll see I didn't put a space afterwards, after the S in comments, and I didn't put a space before the and. So I can do a space either way. So I'm going to hit the up arrow. I'm just going to go right to the and put a space after that. And voila. So I don't know why you would need to do something for every single word. I'm sure there is a reason why, but this is not a good example as to a reason for that. But that's how you can do it. You can do string concatenation for that. You can do, this is probably a more likely scenario where you're doing string concatenation for this. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So another way that you can use string concatenation is like if you're combining different kinds of data types. So let's see, I'm how many years old, and I'm let's see, 39. This is not necessarily the best way to do this, but just bear with me. This is the kind of way. This is another use for string concatenation. And then I do the plus symbol and the plus symbol. That's how old. I messed something up. Oh, up arrow. Okay. And I forgot spaces. Up arrow. Now, because this is not a string, the spaces doesn't really read on there. You have to do it both before and after. Okay, so it's not the best form sentence, but it works. So this is another reason you can use string concatenation if you're combining different kind of data types. Okay, so let's go back into here. Kind of felt like I went down a rabbit hole on that. Oh, no, I didn't. So you can do this, like this one makes a little bit more sense, maybe. You can combine two different data types, as we just saw. Properties. When introducing a new piece of data, the browser saves it as an occurrence of the data type. Every string instance has a property called length. Length stores the number of characters in that string. So let's kind of go over that again. So properties, whenever you have a new piece of data, which again can be a string, a tag, or a string, a number, Boolean, an object, whatever. Whenever you introduce that new kind of data, in this example, it's a string, the browser saves it as occurrence of the data type. So the browser knows, because we put quotes around the text, it's a string, and it's a string data type. And this, what did I do? Okay. So every string instance, every kind of string data type has a property called length. And what length does is stores the number of characters in that string. You can retrieve the property information by appending the string with a period and the property name. The dot is another type of operator. It's called dot operator. So let's play with that a little bit. So I'm going to clear this out. So console log, we are going to do, oh shoot, 5 length. I might be missing something here. Let's see. I'm missing something. Oh, the quotes, duh. Okay. Console log 5 length. Okay. So 5 has 4 characters in it. Let's see if we do console log 5 space quotes length. Nope. Yeah. It has 5 because it reads that space as a character. And let's see. Console log 5 has 4 characters. Length 24. So I'm assuming if I counted all those characters, including the spaces, there's 24 of them. Okay. So methods. Methods are actions that we can perform. We call and use the methods by appending. Oh, let me go back up a little bit. So in regards to this dot operator, another way to understand what appending does is read the dot between the string and the property, replacing it with the word of. So an example is, pizza and length is the example that I have here, is referring to the length of pizza. And again, that's just like the number of characters. So length, this dot instead of dot, if that's going to confuse you. The length of pizza. Okay. So that might be a way to kind of have a better understanding of what these dots and special characters sometimes mean. Sometimes I think that's confusing me more than anything else, is all these special characters, floating around. It's like, what? So if you have a different way of understanding it, maybe that can kind of help. So the length of, which is indicated by the dot, pizza. And in the, did I already erase it? No. So the length of 5 has 4 characters. The length of 5 with a space. The length of 5. Hopefully that might kind of help cement the stuff in your head. Methods. Methods are actions that we can perform. We call or use the methods by appending an occurrence or an instance with a dot operator. So console log is another type of method, because we're calling the log. Why does he keep doing that? We're calling the log on the console object. So the console is the object, and we're calling the log method on the console. So this might help. This whole tip might help there as well. Haven't tried it for that, but maybe it does. There are several other methods that you can use. An example is to uppercase. So it would be changes all the letters to uppercase. Methods require the parentheses. Okay, so here, and we'll try it here in just a second. Find all the other methods. So this is a link that'll take you to all the other methods. It's on Mozilla, which is one of the developer.mozilla.org, which is one of the resources you can use to learn a lot more. But something like that is probably, you're going to learn it best when you have a need for it. We're not going to take a deep dive into it right now. We're just going to kind of learn the basics of how things work, because that's kind of where you have to kind of pick and choose which rabbit hole you want to go into. And right now we're just doing a review of the basics. Okay, so let's do this practice. So I'm going to clear this. And console log, this should be uppercase, not lower case. And then I do the closing on the parenthesis, on the quotes, dot to uppercase. And you can see that it kind of guesses what I'm wanting to do, which is awesome. And then you need both the open and the closed parentheses after to uppercase, and then the closed parentheses. And you can see this should be uppercase, not lowercase. It's all caps. And if I want to do console log, this should be lowercase. I can spell lower case. And then I would do same thing to, I missed something. Oh, it's different kind of quotes. So you can see I had a single quote and I ended it with a double. So I'm going to change it to single to lower case. Open and close parentheses, and close the parentheses because we have the open one right here. Hit enter. It takes my uppercase stuff to, it should all be lowercase. Let's see. So what would happen if I did console log? This should be uppercase. I can spell uppercase to uppercase. And let's say I just did the closing parentheses for this opening here, and that's it. I get blah. I get something that I don't want. So what I need to do to fix that, obviously, I just hit the up arrow and then just do my open and close parentheses. And there you go. Okay, built-in objects. So a console in console log is an example of an object. JavaScript offers built-in objects. The other examples of a JavaScript objects include math objects. They have builds, have built-in methods. Okay, you have built, it should probably be built. But anyways, have built-in methods already in them. Some examples are math random. It returns a random number between 0 and 1 because you didn't give it any other number. But if you do a math random with a number like 30, it returns a random number between 0 and 30. Okay, so let's do console log. Let's go ahead and clear this first. Console log math. What was that? There's no shame in looking to see how you did it. Okay, I have to look all the time. Math random. Okay, my object is math. I'm doing the random method. I think is, yeah, method. Yes, sorry. So my math is my object. I'm doing a random draw on basically a number, any number between 0 and 1 because I'm not giving it another number, and it's giving me that da 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 da. So I can just hit the up arrow and hit enter, and it'll do another one. And because it's only because I didn't give it another number to refer to, everything's going to be between 0 and 1. So that's why it's all decimals. But what if I do console log math dot random? I think I leave that as is. We're going to see if I'm right before I look. Oh, I was right. Okay. I was trying to remember if I was supposed to put the 30 in there or not, but this is cool. I was right. So console log math is the object, dot random is the method. We got the open and close parentheses. Then we do the star 30, and it's going to give us a random number between 0 and 30. So if I hit the up arrow, it'll appear again, up arrow, up arrow. So you can see it just keep only giving me random numbers between 0 and 30. But what if we want to do another method so it rounds to the wholest nearest whole number? So you see what I got right here. So an example of console log. I'm gonna cut some color code it. How do you read this? How do you read this? Okay. So I was trying to be clever, I think. I don't know if I accomplished that. So this up arrow, console log, math floor, math random, 30. How do you read this? I think I was trying to be clever. May not work out as well. So let's just go ahead and play with it. Here's some examples, but basically what it's going to do, it's going to round it. Like you see how we have here, everything's in a decimal. And we can tell it that we're going to floor it, like basically, for the whole nearest whole number. So let's do console log math floor, and I think it's parentheses math random on the double open and close parentheses times, let's do 22 close parentheses for this one right here, right after floor, then another close parentheses for the one right before the first math. Let's see if I got that right. And it looks like I did. So, so we start with the inside out. That's basically how we're reading this. Oh, and I see what I was trying to do now. Okay. We start with the inside out. So math random is going to give us a number between 0 and 30. Okay. We played with that up here. Okay. We played with math randoms here. And so remember in that previous exercise, those random numbers had decimals. So we got the most inner part of this is math random. And then the second part of this, going out, is math floor. It's going to give us the lowest round number, basically no decimals. Okay. And then we're going to console log it so that we can see it. So, which is to display it. And so it's going to display whatever the random number from math random. Shoot, I hate when it does that. From math random. It's going to give us that number from math random, but it's passed through math floor. So what math floor is going to do is make it a whole number. And then it's going to let us see it in our log. More information can be found there. So tip, all those parentheses matter. Make sure you have them all that you need and none extra because it will muck you up. So let's talk about variables. And let's go ahead and clear this. A variable is a container for a value. It probably should be lives in a computer's memory. When using descriptive labeling of a variable name, we can understand what a variable is for. So you don't want it to be X. You don't want it to be car if you can avoid. But if something different like car make or car model is better. You want to be as specific as you can. You can do three things with the variables. You can create a variable with a descriptive name. You can store or update information stored in a variable. You can refer to or get information stored in a variable. So variables are not values, but they contain values. That's another typo. Variables are not values, but they contain values that represent the name of the variable. So an example, we're declaring a variable by using the word var. Car make equals Chevy. So the example above, Chevy is the value of the variable car make. So we declared a car make as a variable. A variable can be any name you want it, but you want it to be descriptive. And we use the word var to declare it. We're saying that this variable is going to be named car make and that the value of it is going to be Chevy. So car make is a descriptive name for our variable. It provides a better description of what we're looking for compared to variables like X, car, or make. So let's practice that in here. So we're going to do var car make equals Chevy. And then what we call upon, so we declared it with var, and now we're going to call on it by just writing the name of our variable name, which was car make. And it's going to come up with Chevy. So I can change this because right now it's a variable. I can change car make into something else like Ford. And now when I call upon car make, it's going to give me Ford. Okay. So it's easy to declare. It's easy to change. Okay, so there are three keywords to be used for variables. Like we've been using var. The other two are let and const. And remember how I mentioned how easy this is to change? That can be a good thing. It cannot be such a good thing. So let's go into that. So var, talking about var right now, it existed prior to let and const being introduced in 2015. So it's only about 5 years old. Rules for variable names. There are some certain rules for variable names. And again, I'm still talking about var, which is one of three keywords that we can use for declare variables. Cannot start with a number. It is case sensitive. And it cannot be the same as keywords, such as console, var, let. So there are some words that are protected and you cannot use. And here's a resource there. A variable can be declared without an assignment. A value to it, assigning a value to it, all kinds of typos, without assigning a value to it. Okay, so let's see. Let's try some of the things the rules that we're not supposed to do. Cannot start with a number. So let's do a var 1 car equals beep. I got an error because I got starting with a number. And let's see. It is case sensitive, so let's do var car. Let's take out that one on that one we have here equals Jeep. And when I come up with car, it comes up with Jeep. Okay. But what if I do car with a capital C? It's wanting to change it. Capital C car. Okay. And it's saying car is not defined because I've not, declared it. I've only declared car with a lowercase c and not with the uppercase C. So if I just do car with lowercase c, see my Jeep. Cannot be the same as keyword. So let's do var let, which is one of the protected keywords, equals Kia. Okay. It shouldn't work. Oh, it shouldn't work. I don't know what to tell you on that. Don't use it. I don't know why that worked. Let's try console. Okay. Evidently it works, but just don't do it. Okay, so variable can be declared without an assignment to a value to it. So we can declare it. So var car model. We're just going to do car model. Okay, we're not assigning a value like we've been doing with Chevy and Ford and Jeep and so forth. So we call upon car model and we get undefined because we haven't put any value to it. So let's go ahead and give a value to our car model. Let's do Dodger. Oh, I'm sorry. Charger. I was thinking Dodge and Charger. Okay, so now when I call upon car model, that's Charger, right? So I didn't define it here whenever I first declared it. I didn't give it any kind of value, as you can see right there. But I can put a value to it anytime that I want. Let's see. Okay, we did that. Let. So now we're going to talk about let. Let was established in 2015 by ES6, which I think is one of the links I have in here as well with Blackboard. It signals that a variable can be reassigned a different value. A variable can be declared without assigning a value to it. So it's very similar to var in regards to the lack of constraints on it. There are some different kind of constraints, like within the scope, which we won't get into right now. But you can, it's very similar to, let is very similar to var. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this. So let's talk about something else. Let dog equals Spotty. Okay, so we declare dog, and now we're calling dog, which is Spotty. Okay, so it's very similar so far as the var. Okay, and just like with var, we can declare it, we can rename it. So, okay, and we can keep doing that. Okay, and then whenever I call upon dog, it's going to be the last dog that was there. Oh, okay, this was probably supposed to go on to this next page. Sorry. So this is like instructions on what we were doing here. So the variable was declared using the lat keyword with lat Tasha Car. The variable name was Tasha Car. The value was Kia. Without using the lat word again, I declared a new value for Tasha Car to be Chevy, which was Tasha Car equals Chevy. Just how you saw me do dog equals Brock, dog equals Piper, and so on and so forth. So talking about const. Const was also established in 2015 by ES6. It's short for constant and cannot be reassigned because it is constant. It must be assigned a value when declared. So let's clear this. Let's do const cats equals mini me. Okay, so I have a const of cats equals mini me. I have a cat named mini me. Cat equals, so I want to call upon cat. Oh, no, cats. Okay, and I see the name of mini me. But say I want to talk about, say I want to, oh shoot, can't talk in time, cats. And if I want to put a different cat in there, what's that cat's name? Castiel. Okay, I can't do it because it was assigned to a constant variable. So just like if I had done, if I did let cats, and it won't let me do it here because the same thing, but I'll show you. So this is what we're done so far. I declared a variable and I'm using const, so it cannot be changed. And the name of my variable is cats, and the value is mini-me. So when I called upon cat, it came up with an error because I missed the S. When I called upon cats, it gives me mini-me, which is the value that's in cats. And then whenever I tried to rename it, like I did with the dogs, you know, from Spotty to Brock and Piper, it says I can't do it because it's a constant variable. And then whenever I try to say I want to use, well, I don't want it to be constant anymore. I want to do cats, and I use let, and it won't let me do it because it was already declared as cats with a constant. And back to it being case sensitive, so let's say do let's cats with a uppercase C equals Castiel. And then when I do uppercase C, it's Castiel. When I do lowercase c, it's mini-me. So this is an example of how case sensitivity does make or break, it does matter in regards to your variable name. And you can't not change anything after it's been declared with const, but with let, you can. Like if I wanted to do cats with a capital C to be, oh, what's his name? Got another cat's name. I called it Black Cat because I can't remember its name. Black Cat. And so when I call upon black cats, it's, or when I call upon cats with a capital C, it's Black Cat. So basically on this, the thing to remember is const can not have variable or the value changed. Let can have the value changed. Var can have the value changed. Okay. Let's see. And there may, because there may be times you don't want the value to change, like with const. Like a social security number or something that's not going to change ever. But just be aware of it. Sometimes you might want something to change. So use this particular. This is considered current best practices. You might still see some people use this. But before you actually declare a variable, make a variable using the word const, be pretty sure that's not going to want to change in the future. So that could be problems with your code. So be pretty positive it's not going to change. Something that's unique, maybe like I said, a social security number, or something that you know is not going to change. Because if you think there might be a possibility to change, use let when you declare the variable. Okay, so where am I at now? Okay. So I did the same thing here as I just showed you using shirt colors, it looks like. So string concatenation with variables. I'm going to pause this while I see why I can get to work. Okay, so string concatenation with variables. So the plus operator, like we saw in the string concatenation, which is basically combine two strings and other kinds of data types into one sentence, maybe one long run-on word if we get to add spaces like I do. And includes the values that are stored in a variable. You can also, but another way that you can use this is by using the values that's stored in the variable. So in the example below, you can see how string concatenation is combined with a variable which is using the version of let as a variable. The steps are as follow. Declare the variable, so you can use var, let, or const. Using console log, combine string and variable using string concatenation. Don't forget to add spaces. You can see that I did that right here. So let's go ahead and play with that. We did it earlier, but let's play with it some more because this is fun. This is seriously fun. I like it. So let's declare it. And if you're going to start reusing, like even though I clear it, it's a good thing to remember because I caught myself doing this when trying to create some of these examples. Even though you clear it, it still remembers. So, you know, what variables were used. So I'm going to call upon cats, which is one of the last ones I did. And the variable, even though I cleared it, it's not necessarily clear from the memory. It's still remembering what I did. So I think lowercase c cats was const. So if I did cats as mini me, and so it still remembers all of this stuff. So if you want to start reusing some of the variables names because you're just getting tired of thinking of something else, just hit refresh. And then it's going to do that again, and then clear. And now it's clear. So if I look for cats, it may remember it, but it's not just the memory of it, but it's not been defined. So I'm not defined it yet. So let's go ahead and clear this again. There we go. So string concatenations with variables. So let's go ahead and declare a variable. Let equals cute puppy. Her name is Alaska. Okay. She's the cute little monster you heard earlier. So whenever I call upon cute puppy, it's going to be Alaska, right? So let's do console log. The cute monster you heard earlier is, then I do the closing quotes or do quotes, plus symbol, and then I just do cute puppy. And then I think I can just go ahead and do the closing parentheses. Let's see if I got that right. Almost, sort of. I forgot to do the space again. So just hit the up arrow. Use the left arrow to go back and forth, left and right. And then, voila. So the cute monster you heard earlier is Alaska. So that's how you can combine variables. So what if we want to do well, if we want to say the cute puppy, we decided to name her to Monster. Okay, so her name is now Monster. And I'm going to hit the up arrow, so I don't have to type all that again. And then it calls upon that new variable name of Monster. Her name is Monster. Okay. So you can see this example where I forgot spaces. Let's make this where the variable's in the middle and there's string afterwards. So console log, should we rename the puppy from quotes, plus symbol, cute puppy, So that's going to tell me monster because that's the name of the variable that we've applied last. And then I'm going to do plus symbol. And then I'm going to do open quotes or something else. So I can see I already forgot to add a space right here. So let's add a space after the M and from. I already added a space before the O and or. Should we rename the puppy from monster or something else? Okay, my sentence doesn't make sense, but you see how it's structured. So the type of operator. It can also be useful to keep track of the data types of the variables, which can be using the type of operator. So it checks the value to its right and returns a string of the data type. So here's some examples. A variable named pet is going to be cat. Number of cats is 3. Type of cats is, so we just declared some variables. And then we're doing the console log of type, looking at the pet, and it tells me it's a string, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and practice that. Clear. So let's see. Trying to think of an idea. Let's keep talking about cats, or let's keep talking about dogs. Dogs equals 4. Okay. Let oldest dog equal Spotty. Let do you have dogs equals true. Okay. So a variable name of dogs is the number 4. And the let oldest dog is going to be Spotty. And do you have dogs? True. So let's call upon that. Console log, open parentheses, type of, and it finishes it for you. Dogs. So we're doing the type of dot dogs, which is the name of the variable up here. And I got an error message. What did I got? What did I miss? Oh, it's not supposed to have the dot. Sorry. Console log type of space, no dot, name of the variable, which is dogs. Okay, and it tells me it's a number because it is. Console log type of, it's one word, type of oldest dog, and it's a string, which it is. And one thing that we haven't talked about yet, but we're getting ready to show you right now, console log, what did I mess up? Feel like I messed up something. Not yet. Type of, do you have dogs? Now it's a word, but it's not a string. Do you have dogs? It's a Boolean, which if you remember is either yes or no, true or false. True or false are the words to use. Boolean, okay? So we can see that how it's a Boolean and there, because there's like no quotes around it, and it's a true, it's indicating it's true. So let's kind of change this. I want to hit the up arrow until I get to here. And I'm going to put quotes around it. It's going to make it a string. And let's do console log type of dogs. And it's now a string, as you can see. It's going to do oldest dog equals, I don't know what's going to happen here. Probably a undefined or something like that. Taking away the quotes. Yeah, it's coming up. It's not defined because it's a bad, it needs quotes. But let's see if I want to oldest dog. Let's say I wanted that to be the number of years. Okay. Now that still works. I can see that's a good thing to think about. your variable can change the type of data types. Like it was a string, but say what I meant instead of the name of the oldest dog was how old the oldest dog is. So I can make that into a number now. So a console log type of oldest dog. And it's now saying it's a number because it is now. And which is kind of one of the dangers of having a variable that you can redefine so easily. Sometimes you need it, but sometimes not. And the last one was, do you have dogs? Do you have dogs? And we're going to make this true. Okay, it's still true, but now because I put quotes around it, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Because I put quotes around it, it's now considered a string. So that's how type of does. It can tell you what kind of data type it is. Okay, and string interpolation. And whenever I first, this was introduced in ES6 also around 2015. When I first saw this, I didn't like it because it was like new characters and new symbols, and I'm like, ugh. But after you get to play with it for a little while, it's kind of cool. So if you were like me, it's like, this sucks. It doesn't suck. You just gotta get used to it. So it was introduced with ES6. It can insert or interpolate variables into strings using template literals. And I think the other reason I didn't like this is because it was like language I just wasn't familiar with. So template literals are wrapped in backticks. And if you look on your keyboard next to the one, to the left of that number one, you see, if you're on a Microsoft Surface, you see like a little curly thing, like a curly hyphen, and like a backwards comma, maybe. It's underneath your escape key, above your tab key. That backwards comma is your backtick. And it uses a place, and it requires that backtick, and it uses a placeholder in this kind of format: the $, open curly bracket, whatever your variable name is, and the close curly bracket. Okay, so let's see. So let's go ahead and practice this. Instead of come up with some, well, no, I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. Okay, so let's do let cars or makes. So we're going to do a Dodge. Let car model equals Charger. Let car year equals 2020. And I'm keeping that a number. It could be a string if I never wanted to change from 2020. But I might be wanting to use this for some sort of computational purpose, like how old the car is. And if it's 2022 and I want to subtract car year, then I want it to keep it a number. Okay, so it's, keeping it a number format can be nice, even though you might not see it now, but later on you might want to, like I said, you want to subtract how old a car is if it's the year 2022. Okay, so we're going to do a console log of okay, that's almost forgot. So we've been doing strings with quotes, double quotes, or single quotes, right? With backticks, you don't do the quotes anymore. You do, or of string interpolations, you don't do the quotes anymore. You do backticks, which again is next to that one. So you do the backtick. What car will you buy next? Okay. Will it be a, okay, now I want to do a variable. So I do that with the $, opening curly bracket, car makes, close curly bracket, and then the question mark. If so, will it be a, want to do variable again? Open curly, I'm sorry. What's that called? $. Open curly bracket, car year, close curly bracket, and then want to do for the car model, $symbol, open curly bracket, car model, and the close curly bracket, close that backtick, which again is next to the 1, close that parentheses, and hit enter. And did I get this right? What car will you buy next? Will it be a Dodge? If so, will it be a 2020? Okay, I got that right. I'm just going to hit up and add a question mark before that backtick. Okay, so you can see how we declared our variables. I did car makes, I did a car model, and I did a car year. And then instead of quotes, it's not a single quote, not a double quote. We don't do any quotes if we're using the string interpolations. And which is easier than the string concatenations. We do the backtick. And then for our variable name, we do the $symbol, open curly, the name of the variable, and then the close curly. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so on the error, I made an error here. So the second dog is named Brock, and that is not right because dog name 2, the value is Brock. The variable name is dog name 2. So what I should have done, because they couldn't find a variable named Brock, because it did not exist. There was no variable named Brock. What it should have been, like I said, it was dog name 2, and that comes up with Brock. So yeah, so you get the winner, you get a chicken dinner if you saw that. Okay, so that's the end of this lesson. This is a kind of a basic review of JavaScript from JavaScript 1. And I'm going to try to upload this video and still see how it goes. So hopefully this was kind of a good refresher on JavaScript 1. Let me know if you have any questions, and then we're going to start diving more into the next stuff that we're going to be learning about JavaScript. Thank you again for everybody for your patience and understanding, and I apologize for background noise of dogs.